Thanks for the great introduction. Yes, I did my dental school training at UB, graduated in 2002. Actually, I never really thought I would ever do a residency, which is kind of funny because when I did my residency was not required for licensure. So I really never thought I would do a residency at all. I was planning on, going right into private practice until one day I shadowed at one of the local hospitals for one day as one of my hospital rotations. And it really did open my eyes up to the possibilities of non-private practice dentistry. So I ended up doing my residency from 2002 to 2003. And I was at a small cancer hospital in Buffalo, and I was actually a program of one. So I was the only resident in my residency year. So it really made me almost feel like a peer to my attending dentists. And I was really part of the team there, but I really liked the feel of like the team dentistry. So from there, I became a part-time attending, and I became the program director of that small program in 2005, just a few years later. And then I was the program director there, and then I moved hospitals along with my peers. In 2014, we moved from the cancer hospital in Buffalo, right down the street, not very far away, to ECMC in 2014. And now I'm the program director here, but we have a much larger program. Right now we have a program of 15 residents in a level 1 trauma center. So definitely different than where I did my training, but some of the same as well. I love having a big program. It really is like a small team, a small class we almost have together. And while I'm here today speaking from experience, this isn't about me and it's not about my program. It's about you guys. So I do want to, entertain any questions that you may have as well. First of all, I want to say to you guys, congratulations. You really have made it this far. You've made it through. The hardest part about dental school is getting in. Starting your first year, getting through your first year is the hardest part of dental school. The next hardest part of dental school is your second year. So now you guys are kind of over that hurdle. Now you're at the part where you really get to like dive into clinical dentistry and really start doing what you came to love, what you came here to do, and what you're going to learn to love to do. So once you start seeing patients, and even more so when you really do start a residency, this is really what you've been working so hard to do. So congratulations to you all. So I'm sure out of the group, many of you that are, the reason why you're here is that you're planning on doing a residency. I'm sure some of you will specialize. A handful of you, I'm sure, contemplating a residency and maybe going right into private practice. But most of you, I bet, are undecided what type of residency you want to do, where you want to end up. And that's okay. That's why you're here. I'd love to poll the audience, but it's kind of hard on Zoom. But that's why you're here. So I'd love to answer any of your questions that you guys may have. So a little bit of history of dental residency in New York State. Like I said, in 2002, this became a year where you could do a residency instead of taking a seated board exam in New York State. So before that, you could take a seated board exam and you can get your license and you can go right into private practice. In 2002, it kind of changed in where you could do a residency instead of taking the board exam in New York State. So you kind of had the choice of one or the other. Prior to 2002, New York State would issue a limited permit to dentists when they completed their postgraduate program. Now residents are put on what's called a residency roster throughout your program. And when you do complete your program, you're considered license eligible. So in 2007, residency became mandatory in New York State to do a license. So actually they were tossing up the idea of adding a 5th year to a lot of these dental schools to make up for all the additional things that you guys have to learn in clinical dentistry. Over the years, I mean, if you really think about it, with the way technology has changed and the way patients are more complicated and the way you have to learn so much more to be a comprehensive dentist, they really thought about it in New York State, and this is what they've decided. They decided, let's make residency mandatory. Any type of residency, any type of specialty, you have to complete to get your license. So New York State is still a little unique in that sense. There's only 2 states, Delaware and New York, that are the only states that require a license, or I'm sorry, a postgraduate training for licensure. 6 other states, Minnesota, California, Colorado, Ohio, Connecticut, and Washington are those 6 states that resident is an option as your licensure pathway. So these are just different pathways that you could take to get your license in these different states. In all these other 48 different states, there's all these different licensure exams that you could take. But in New York State, you don't have to take one of these if you don't want to. If you think you're going to practice in New York State, you don't have to take a licensure exam. So that could save you a little bit of stress and headache and heartache during your 3rd and 4th years if you're interested in staying in New York State. So there's all these different examination agencies that can do a licensing exam if you're interested in that way. So there's lots of different pathways to licensure. So why should you do a residency? So this is very person specific. You have to really remember that there's not one cookie cutter answer for every student out there. Why should you do a residency? So one reason to do a residency is to get your New York State license. This really shouldn't be the reason why you're doing a residency. There's lots of other things that you can get out of a residency, but it is one reason why you should do a residency. You could do a residency to earn a specialty certificate. So you could do it to become an oral surgeon or become a periodontist or to get that specialty degree. So do a postgraduate training for that reason. A residency, most residencies out there are paid positions. The average dental resident out there will make about $55,000, between $55,000 and $56,000 is the average salary of a first-year PGY dental resident. And you really could think that you're getting paid to learn. So you're getting paid to get this specialty training, to get this extra, extra training, hand-on-hand training with your attendings. When you're out of school and when you're a general dentist out there on your own or a specialist out there, every learning opportunity that you're going to have is going to be a CE course after this. And CE courses are sometimes disappointing. And sometimes they're really expensive. I mean, hands-on CE courses, weekend-long CE courses that are going to teach you, specialty training above and beyond what you've done in your dental school career or in your postgraduate training are very expensive, tens of thousands of dollars sometimes. You can also do a residency really to increase your efficiency. Whatever you do in residency is going to be, increasing the speed. I know everybody, that's the first thing that they say that they want to get out of their residency, which is, very a legitimate response. Everybody wants to become faster, more efficient. But in a residency, you could do this with guidance, with guidance from attending, with guidance from co-residents, without the pressure of having to produce a certain amount in a day, or you have to get a certain amount done to make your production to get paid. So you get paid your salary, and you're learning along the way. And also you're definitely going to be learning a lot of different things in a residency program, a lot of different things that you didn't learn in your dental school training, like we said before. Then you got to think about where you want to do your residency. So what spot do you want to go to? What city do you want to go to? Usually this is primarily due to location, which is, very legitimate. You want to either do a residency where you are now in school, where you are from, where you want to go back and practice, or where you want to be someday. So residency really is often done because of that. Most programs really do have a good connection with a lot of local dentists. So if you do want to think about where you want to settle, a suburb of a certain city, a lot of program directors, a lot of program attendings will have a lot of connections to the local dental society. to a lot of dentists that are going to be out there and looking for associates or, practitioners to join their office in the future. So really think about where you want to make your connection. Also, you can think of residency as an opportunity to take a vacation, do a destination residency. Just be careful about this one, because I do know I have a couple of friends, and I know a lot of people that have done this and never wanted to come back. So I have resident friends, and throughout the year that, go out west or go to Denver or go to, a destination residency and never want to come back. So that could be a good thing, good thing too. Actually, just a fun fact, there's actually 14 GPR positions and 5 pedo positions right now in the state of Hawaii. So if anyone's interested in moving to Hawaii, there are some opportunities out there in multiple islands actually too, which is interesting. So you have to think about really what you want to get from the program, what you want to take away from your program, and what you want to learn from it. And you really want to think that is definitely going to be different for each student. It's going to be different in the fact that, some students, want to become a very comprehensive general dentistry and be a dentist and be able to do everything. They want to be able to handle any emergency that walks in the door, be able to serve the community, whether it's a small town practice, where you want to be a general dentistry that could do endo and take care of your pediatric patients and do your, trauma that comes into the office. So if that's the type of dentist that you want to become, maybe it's good to see a program that takes call. Call can be very daunting. I'm sure you guys have heard a lot of stories about taking call, but call can be a good thing in that you will learn how to triage emergencies and, triage swellings and fractures and know kind of when to call in a specialist and what you can handle as a general dentist. So call can be a good thing in that sense. Or maybe you're the type of dentist that wants to really learn a lot of aesthetic dentistry. So you want to find a program that does a lot of aesthetic dentistry, or a type of program that does a lot of crown and bridge. Really kind of ask, and don't be afraid to ask these questions when you go to look at programs. A good program should really be able to supply you with, number of procedures that their residents perform, number of cases that they complete, implant cases, all of that should really be able to, you should be able to ask a program those questions. Also, you may want to do a specialty, but you don't know yet. And that's a very, you're not expected to know that now. So sometimes a residency program can open up your eyes to different specialties that you don't know about yet. So what questions should you be asking a program as a student in your position? Obviously, websites, every program out there has a website. As you guys know, AEGD is a great resource. AEGD should have all the requirements for each program, residency deadlines, the number of spots that each program has. It should have a lot of specifics about each program. But don't be afraid to yourself reach out to these programs. As students, you have to, be your own advocate and ask questions, email the program director, take a look for any externship opportunities or shadow opportunities, like I said, that these programs may have. Sometimes if you just, tour a facility, whether it's through the stop in and see if you can, just kind of tour the grounds of a residency program. If you're in that, in that specific location, you can always do that. Request a program brochure. This is just a copy of our program brochure that we have that we give to students virtually, through email, or we hand it to residents as a reference when they come in for their interview. And in each of these, program brochures, like I said, they should be able to outline, just the basics of a day in the life of a resident, the procedures that they perform. And each program really should be able to also supply you with, each program should have an overall program goal and objective. And CODA helps outline these. Every GPR has basically the same overall program goals and objectives, but this is, program specific as well. which ones are going to focus on special needs patients. If you're interested in working with special needs patients, you should ask your program if they see patients with special needs, whether it's adults or pediatrics. And even if you're not going to be working on special needs program or special needs patients every day, it's a good thing to bring to your private practice. It's a good thing to have exposure to that you could take with you to your future career. Let me talk, and then I'm just going to touch a little bit about AEGD and GPR. I know it's a little interesting the way the wording is, general practice residency and advanced education in general dentistry. They're really very similar, similar in the fact that both of these training programs end in a postgraduate certificate in general dentistry. Most of these programs are certificate awarding, where you get a diploma, you get a degree saying that you graduated from a general dentistry general dentistry postgraduate program, but they are different entities. Some are 12 years, some are 24 months. Some are 12 months and some are 24 months. And some of these programs there are programs out there that are 1 year, 2 years, or there are some that are 1 year with the second year option. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. The second year option is always, something that you don't have to know if you're interested in right away. You could decide that later on, partway through your program. So the main differences between a GPR and an AEGD is that GPRs are generally located within a hospital. If they're not located in their hospital, they're affiliated with the hospital. So a lot of GPRs are located in a different building, kind of outside the hospital, whether it's a block away from the hospital or in a separate kind of community center that's very close to the hospital. Some GPR programs will have a standalone dental clinic, but then also have a couple of chairs that are in the hospital, or a chair in the emergency room for the sick patients that are seen in the emergency room, or patients that are seen in the hospital that have to be seen in the hospital. So some GPRs are broken up in that sense, but most of them are affiliated with the hospital and located very closely with the hospital. In that same regard, residents in a GPR treat patients that are, needed to be seen in a hospital. These are medically complicated patients that are, can't be seen in a private practice setting. So some GPR programs will get referred patients that are seen in private practices, but then the general dentist isn't comfortable seeing these patients. So they refer them to the GPR programs, in which you'll be seeing them as GPR residents. So GPR residents, they work real closely with other physicians. They'll work closely with OMFS students and attendings and oral surgeons out there. Some of them will work with head and neck surgeons. Some will be working with the floor physicians. So students in GPR programs will do more rotations. They'll do an anesthesia rotation, and they'll do a family medicine rotation. These are structured differently, depending program specific, but every COTA accredited GPR are required to have an anesthesia rotation and a family medicine rotation. Like I said, will definitely look different, program specific, but these rotations are necessary for completion of a GPR. So GPR residents, are expected to see patients in the emergency room. They're expected to take call, and they're expected to work on patients that are medically complicated. Always, obviously always hand in hand with an attending. But they'll learn a lot. GPR residents learn a lot of things that they can then take to their private practice and then apply that to their career as a general dentist. So some GPR residents will end up doing a career in hospital dentistry or a career in community health center dentistry. But even doing a GPR and going into private practice, there's a lot of things that you could take from that program and apply it to your everyday practice. An AEGD is, like I said, similar in the fact that it's certificate awarding program in general dentistry, but these programs are a little bit more straightforward in clinical dentistry. A lot of times AEGDs are located in either dental schools or community health centers. Sometimes they're even located in dental offices or large dental offices that have an AEGD within them. And an AEGD, there's a greater percentage time spent on hands-on general dentistry, just because a GPR program residents are required to do more rotations. So there's more hour by hour time spent on hands-on general dentistry in an AEGD. And sometimes, you know, a lot of AEGDs will see more aesthetic cases than a GPR program, just for the mere fact of the patient demographics. But that's always, like I said, very case specific and very program specific. So that's kind of a broad difference of a GPR and an AEGD. But make sure when you go, you know, you ask those specific questions of, you know, what type of patient demographic that program sees. Let me talk a little bit now about the PASS and the match system. I'm sure you guys have heard these buzzwords a lot. PASS is the postdoctoral application support system. So this is just a portal for dumping all your information for your actual application. You guys are familiar with something like this in the fact that this is very similar to when you apply to dental school. You'll upload all your information. You'll upload your CV, you'll upload your personal statement into the portal. Your professors can directly upload your references and recommendations right into the portal. And it makes it way easier for you guys to apply to programs and for programs to sift through all this data. ADIA has an awesome PASS checklist, application checklist that will help you guys kind of navigate through all these steps. You'll register with PASS. I think it's $190 last time I checked. I don't know if that's gone up at all. I think it's $190 to register with PASS. And that includes one program, and then it's $75 for each additional program that you add to your PASS program. So you can add as many programs as you want. Each program has a PASS number, and you can apply to specialty and non-specialty programs through this PASS application. I think you can actually upload two different personal statements too. One personal statement if you're applying to certain programs and one statement if you don't. I'm not sure if you can do that for each specific program, but I know if you're applying to a specialty program, you could definitely upload different personal statements if you're interested in doing that. And then there's the match program. So match is different than PASS. It's not match.com, it's the match program. That is, there's a dental match and there's a medical match that's very similar in the way they're structured. So medical students do this as well when they're applying to specialty programs. In the medical world, almost 100% of programs participate in the match, where in the dental world, probably 70 to 75% of programs will participate in match. So it is a big percentage of programs out there that participate in match, but there are some non-match programs out there. How does it work? Match is a computer-generated ranking system that literally matches up programs and matches up the candidates. So there's not really any magic to it. It's just a matching system. So it's the same thing, same with PASS. Of course, there's fees with it. There's $90 to register. And what is your strategy for match? Your strategy for match is don't have a strategy. Don't do anything special. Don't overthink it. Just literally go to your interviews and then rank on match where you want to go. That's it. Don't overthink it. Don't try and go around your class and find out where everyone else is matching. And okay, he matched 1, so I'm going to match this as 2 because I know he's going to get in. Ideally, you know, you'll match. You're gonna get to, most people match in the 1, 2, or 3 spots. So you really want to match where you want to be, whether or not you interview in the #1 program in the country and you loved it, rank it as your #1. Even if 100 other people rank it as #1, then the program will rank whoever they like, and it's going to match you up. It always favors the candidate. Like I said, I don't really know how it works, but everyone says it favors the candidate more than the program. If there's like a 1-in-1, discrepancy, it'll favor the candidate. So really interview where you want to interview and match where you want to be. On hindsight, you always want to match. I would say if you're going to use the match program, try and match more than one, put more than one place on your match list. Match it, another place that if you don't get into your #1, where else you would be okay being. Match everywhere that if you don't get in, you would be okay being at that program. And sometimes that means matching a program, a couple of specialty programs and then a GPR program. If you're okay doing a GPR if you don't get into your specialty, you want to rank 1 or 2 of the GPR programs. There are non-match programs out there. These are a little tricky when it comes to like thinking about if you interview a non-match program, ask them, don't be afraid to ask non-match programs. Okay, when do you expect a commitment? What type of commitment would you like? And a lot of the non-match programs are non-match because they're either smaller or have like a subspecialty. Like they're a smaller program that they only want a certain candidate and they find that candidate, and then that candidate, they kind of decide together that they want to be together before the match. And then it'll give the candidate an opportunity to kind of pull out of the match. Every year, I always have a few candidates that, interview with us, and then they pull out of the match because they rank somewhere else, which is kind of disheartening as a match program. It would be really nice if it was even across the board where everyone participated. But, there are non-match programs out there, and you're going to have to handle those yourself and kind of figure that out. A lot of non-match programs, like I said, will ask for a commitment before the match deadline. There is a couples match out there, which, doesn't have to be a married couple. It could be 2 best friends if it really wanted to be. And the match program will help couples match up in the same location. So that's 2 people that want to match in the same, usually it's the same geographic location, but it doesn't have to be the same city. Like you could try and rank a program in Rochester. A couples match, you could say you want to try and couples match and say within the same 2 close cities. You could do that. It doesn't have the program doesn't have to agree to be in the couples match. It's just the 2 candidates that have to kind of link their match lists. And the only one stipulation that it has to be in the same phase of the match. So it has to be in phase 1 or phase 2. And you always want to remember that, you only want to match in the spots that you actually would be okay being, because match, it is a decision that's legally bound. So you do sign like a match agreement, almost like a contract, that, okay, I'm going to participate in the match, and that you have to, go where you're matched. That is the decision that's made for you. Like I said, there are 2 phases to the match. The first phase is ortho, pros, anesthesia, and Canadian GPRs, which I don't know why those are different, but they are. In this phase of the match is earlier in the year. So this match day is mid-November, in which the second phase of the match is in January. And that's AEGD, GPR, OMFS, and PEDO. So the way match works is that you submit your rank to match 1 week before, and then the match day is just 1 week after. So if you want to be in phase 1 of the match, you submit your rank list. It's like the last week of November, and then 7 days later is the match. If you don't get into a phase 1 program, then you could roll your list over to phase 2, and then participate in phase 2 of the match. So matches, it's definitely a stressful day for everybody, but it really, most people, if they interview at a lot of the programs that they want to go to, and they rank the programs that they want to go to. You know, most people will if they're have good expectations of themselves, match is a good thing. You know, match could be a really good thing for a lot of people. This is just, you don't have to look into this too much. I just showed this for the fact that, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but this line here, just want to show you how applicants participating in the match, the number of applicants have really gone up a lot over the past 10 years. So 2,500 people were in the match program in 2012, in which 4,000 were in the match last year. Positions offered, you know, positions have increased across the country from 2,000 upwards of 2,500 positions. And this line, the number of unfilled positions have really gone down over the years. So most positions do fill. I do want to say that students coming from dental school, where you guys are right now, 99% of people will find a match position. A lot of people, this discrepancy, I think, between applicants and match positions really take into consideration a lot of dentists out there that are 2, 3, 4 years out of program or out of school that are applying to a specialty program. So a lot of people will apply for a specialty program and then apply again, and then apply again, and then apply again. Those take into account for a lot of, I think, the unfilled, unmatched participants. So I don't want you guys to get disheartened that you're not going to match to a program. So this really does, you have to think of a lot of dentists in the community that are applying specialties, you know, as a dentist out of school and out of a program already. So what happens if you don't match? So it does happen. There's always people out there that don't match. And I just want to say, really, don't panic. There is PostMatch. PostMatch is always an opportunity. There's always spots out there for PostMatch. The way PostMatch works is at 12 o'clock on match day, right at noon on match day, the lists come out of open positions. So on the match website, you'll find you'll find all the places that have PostMatch spots, and then the programs will get a list of all the candidates that don't match. From here, then it's, you know, you start making phone calls, you start, you know, re-interviewing, but even some specialties, a lot of specialties will have PostMatch spots out there. There'll always be a handful of positions that are open in specialty programs. Those positions are definitely harder to get to because there's a lot of students that don't match in specialty programs that are all kind of grabbing for those last PostMatch spots. But there really are always PostMatch spots out there if you don't match. So really, you know, don't panic. And then I know I'm kind of talking a lot. I want to talk to you guys just a little bit about your interview day. So here you are thinking about all these programs. You've done your research. You've decided on what programs you want to apply to. You've reached out. Interviews generally run usually beginning of October through December. Some programs will interview as early as September, but most interviews will run like middle of October through beginning of December. And most application deadlines are mid-October to mid-November. But speaking as a program director, get your application in soon, because sometimes we even will start looking through applications before the deadline. So do your best to really kind of gather all your information, stay on your professors about getting your recommendations in, because we start fielding applications as soon as we see them as complete. And so on the PASS website, it'll say for us on our end, it'll say pending or it'll say complete. So we can still look through your application as they're pending, but most programs won't consider you for an interview until everything's complete, until everything's in and everything's ready to go. And then we'll start circling back with the programs, circling back with the students and start looking for filling our interview spots. For interviews, obviously last year was a COVID year. So last year we did all of our interviews virtually. And this year we're still up in the air about whether we're going to do that or not. We'll probably do some hybrid version of interviewing virtually or having the students come in. It was kind of a nice level playing field to do everybody virtually. So I'm sure there's some programs out there that will still do that, do everything virtually for their interviews, just for the fact that you don't have to travel, you don't have to, you can apply to more programs this way, you don't have to miss as much school. And, who are we kidding? Everything's changing. Everything, so much has become virtually, as you guys know, that I think a lot of programs will continue the interview process virtually. So as for interview, going to talk to you guys a little bit about your interview day. So the number one rule of your interview, you guys know this, you've heard this from all your professors, you've heard this from anywhere, be prepared and be on time. So whether it's a Zoom or whether it's showing up to a hospital or showing up to a program, make sure you know where you're going, make sure you get there early, get correct directions. If you're going to a different city, kind of get there the night before, a couple hours before, and really make sure you know where you're going, and show up on time. Show up on time for your interview. That's kind of a pet peeve of mine. Come with questions. Come with questions for your attendings. Come with questions for the students. The attendings and the current residents as well. But remember, you're the one being interviewed. So really, when you interview, really be an active listener. Listen to the questions that are being asked of you. Try not to overtake the interview with questions that you have about the program. You'll definitely have time to talk to the student, talk to the co-resident, the other residents that are there. You'll have time to talk to the attendings, but let the interviewer kind of ask you questions. And every program out there is different. Every interviewer is different. I really do think that they're all going to be looking not as much at your answers as how you interview and how you present yourself, and how you will be as a resident. Remember, the interview is a two-way conversation. You want your interviewer to ask you lots of questions and not just talk about the program. And you want to ask a lot of questions, but not talk about yourself. So remember that it's a two-way conversation. And you want to be a good interviewer. You really want to be honest with yourself and be honest with whoever's interviewing you as why you applied to that program, what you want to get out of that program, and what you want to do with your career. So don't be afraid to tell the interviewer, hey, I'm applying to pedo, but if I don't get into pedo, I'm looking at some AEGDs as well. That's a perfectly okay thing to say in an interview. And be honest that, I'm going to apply to this specialty, but I also am thinking about if I don't get into the specialty, I want to apply to a good program that's going to be, my stepping stone. You want to try and think of the qualities that you have and the qualities of that program too. Whether it's, okay, I want to get into a program in Buffalo, New York, so I'm going to apply to the 4 Buffalo program. That's totally acceptable. But do your homework about the programs, kind of learn a little bit about the programs and why you think you would fit in there, and what you would bring to the table. And you want to, just like in dental school, you're not expected to know everything yet. Interviewers and program directors and attendings are looking to teach. They're there to teach you things. So you want to be teachable. As a resident, you want to take out of the program the things that you learn and apply it to you as a general dentist or as a specialist. But you want to be teachable. You don't want to be a know-it-all at your interview, and you don't want to be a know-it-all as a resident. You want to really be able to kind of, take things from each attending and take things from each experience that you have and learn from it and build on it and grow from it. So just be a good interviewer. you know, oh, that was supposed to say how to be a good interviewer. Be yourself and be honest. Think about the qualities that you have that will make you fit into that program and what you want to take out of that program. It's okay to ask questions at an interview. And like I said, make it a two-way conversation, but why did you apply to that program specifically? You know, be honest about it. Like I said, you're really not expected to know everything, and that's why you're there. So I want to open it up to questions. I'm talking about a two-way conversation, but I'm doing all the talking. So I really want to ask you guys kind of what questions you have for me as a program director. I want to say good luck to all you guys. This is the end game. This is what you're doing. This is why you're here. It's really exciting for you guys, applying to programs, applying to specialties. You're not supposed to know everything that you want to do right now. Use your time now to kind of, you know, look into your future. You know, even if you do a GPR and AEGD, and within that year you find out, you know, hey, I think I want to apply to pedo. That's great too, and use that year or 2 years to kind of make that next transition for yourself. You know, which is a great year. So, you know, I love being a program director. I think it's the greatest year that you guys will have. You're going to grow like from July 1 to July 1 of these residents. They just grow so tremendously in confidence, in speed, in being a good dentist, making good decisions, you know, making good decisions, you know, just in sometimes the decision is, I don't know what I'm looking at, or I don't know what decision to make. So then you learn how to ask your attending. And then when you're a dentist in your private practice, you call a specialist or you call your friend and you say, hey, I have something that's, you know, not the norm, you know, so it's okay to not know things as a student, as a resident, and as a dentist. And I think it took me a long time to realize that, because patients are looking to you for answers. And they come to you for answers. And, you know, it's okay to say, hey, I'm going to go do some research and call a specialist that I know, or ask my attending or something, and, you know, get back to you. Or I'll call you tomorrow and get you back for a, you know, 24-hour check, or, it's okay to learn. All I'm saying is, you know, you really want to learn and take what you can from your program and, you know, build on it as a future clinician practitioner. So let me open it up to questions. Hope I can answer some of your questions, and I hope you guys enjoyed my talk. So let's see, let me end my screen share here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rossitto, for a very comprehensive presentation. We really appreciate it. I will go ahead and get started with the questions we collected prior to the meeting today. And the first question I have is, how early should we reach out to program directors and express our interest?
I don't think, I say anytime, probably during your third year, I'd say. You know, it's okay to reach out, and if you want to come and visit a program during your third year, one of your breaks that you have. Ideally, I know you guys start applying the summer of between third year and fourth year, but during your third year, it's okay to, you know, start reaching out. There are some opportunities out there for externships that are usually the summer between third year and fourth year. Like I said, with COVID, I know a lot of those, unfortunately, ours wasn't up and running this year. And I know a lot of programs out there don't have their externships up and running right now. But it's okay to start looking during your third year. You know, it's okay to, you know, email a program director and say, hey, I'm finishing my second year. I'm going into my third year of dental school. Can I come and walk through your program? It's okay to do that. I really think it's fine. And it's okay to ask questions and, you know, start looking.
Awesome. So it's really reassuring to hear from a program director telling us that you guys want to teach us and we're here to learn. So is there any specific procedures that program directors are looking for us to have completed during dental school? And if so, how many of such procedures?
I think that's very program specific. But I don't think there's a lot of GPR or AEGD program directors that are expecting you to do much more than your requirements. I mean, when you guys finish dental school, you have the degree, you have the paper, you're a dentist. And I think you have to realize that when you're doing a residency, you're the dentist with support. You know, you've already gotten your degree, you've done all your requirements that have gotten you as far as you have. I know you haven't done as much as you maybe want to do as a private practitioner, but I don't think that there's any certain number of procedures. I don't think that there's any program directors out there for GPR and AEGD that's going to say, oh, you've only done one set of dentures, you can't apply to this program. You know, I think that they know that, you know, you're there to learn and you're there to build on that. In hindsight, as a program director, you know, we always look at what each resident has done as a resident, and we look at it quarterly. So we'll take your first 3 months of training as a resident, and we'll look at we do like a program evaluation. So we'll print out like a production summary of everything that you've done, and we'll see all the disciplines that you've hit as a resident, and then we reallocate your patients. So we want every resident to hit every discipline, even if they don't love it. So even if you don't love molar endo, as a program director, I'm going to say you're going to have to try it. You have to try and, you know, do what you're scared of. That's what you want to do in residency too, is, you know, do surgical extractions, you know, do molar endo, you know, do the stuff that, you know, is daunting as a student. And then you'll see if you want to, what you don't like. You know, maybe you don't know what you don't like until you kind of jump into it and start doing a little bit more of it. So procedure wise, I don't think that any program out there is really going to, you know, discredit anything because you as an applicant. So apply everywhere. Apply to wherever you want to be.
So now we're going to kind of shift focus, and we have some questions about just the application in
Yes.
general.
Sure.
So in talking about like GPR versus AEGD, do you find that it's like important to highlight certain experiences over others when applying to those programs? Like, is research more important for one program versus the other?
Yes, I think that it's not necessarily important to highlight certain things, but I really think that you need to decide kind of where you want to go next in your career. I think it's important to talk about in your interview and talk about in your application kind of what you've done, where you are, and where you want to go. You know, I mean, you guys are so busy in dental school. I mean, it's so hard to do research and shadowing and, you know, extra. You guys do way more than I ever did in dental school. I mean, getting through dental school is what you guys should focus on. Getting your requirements done. I know a lot of you at UB, they do a lot of like outreach programs, which is great. It's wonderful. It kind of gives you guys a little bit of opportunity to do a little bit more oral surgery, a little bit more procedures, but it's not a requirement for any program, I don't think, to do that. That's, you know, from my program. I think the number one thing is really, you know, get through your degree, get all your requirements done. If you do some research and you love research, then, you know, look for a program that will support your research. And there are a lot of programs out there that, you know, will let you do that kind of hand in hand with your program.
Great. What are some qualities that you look for in future GPR residents, and how can applicants stand out on paper or on the pass application?
I think probably with their personal statement. I think that residents, what I look for out of a candidate, like I said, is somebody that's teachable, somebody that really wants to learn, wants to grow, and wants to like take their experience as a resident and learn from it and build from it. So I think it's important to, you know, if you want to tell a story in your personal statement, that's great. But have it be one that's kind of applicable. Like, this is something that I did in dental school. I think it's really important to kind of show a little bit of your weaknesses, show like this was a time in my life that I persevered, that I overcame something. I don't want to be wowed by how many procedures you did or how great you are, your GPA. Like, that's great. You guys, it's so hard to get to dental school and get through dental school. I think that's, you know, accolades enough for you guys, that I think it's good to kind of show a time in your life where you grew, time in your life where you overcame something, an obstacle that, you know, got you where you are now and made you want to be a better dentist. So I think that's a good, you know, good thing to include in your personal statement.
Great. So another question now is about letters of recommendation.
Yes.
Do letters of recommendation from outside of your dental school, in your opinion, provide useful insight on a candidate? This might include like a dentist that you shadow over the summer that may have graduated from a different dental school.
Right. I do think that, if you do have a good relationship with an outside general dentist that you are close with, that has mentored you through the years, they definitely could give some insight into you as a person. And I think that, if you do have somebody like that in your life, that's important. I don't think it's required. But even your dental school professors that you ask for applications from, try and ask for the recommendations from the ones that know you, that really know you personally, and can speak to your, your personality. And that, like I said, maybe it's the one professor that is difficult to work with, but knows you because they've seen you struggle a little bit. It's okay to struggle in dental school and, overcome that. And even now as dental students, don't be afraid to talk to your professors about that. And I think it's important to kind of circle back and talk to your professors about what you learned from the day. So many dental schools, and our program is starting to do that plus delta system, where we kind of starting to do a daily evaluation of our residents. It's one thing to do like a quarterly evaluation, because you don't really, you go over it once, you go through it, and then it's kind of gone. It's kind of like over. So we started doing a little bit more of a one-on-one, not every resident every day, but like every once in a while, we'll grab a resident and we'll say like, okay, this is your plus delta day. And we'll do daily, okay, what do you want to get out of this day? And we'll look at their day with them. And then we'll say, okay, in the end of the day, what did you get out of that day? And it's a good way to kind of just make mini steps. So when you're applying, I think it's important to, find some of your professors that actually know you, like in that sense.
Great. So now I have another question about just a portfolio and
Yes.
whether or not you think that would be a good idea to include in your application.
Like a portfolio of your dental work, what dental work
Yeah.
you've done? That's definitely program specific. I have seen interviewers that have come with a portfolio, and it is very it's great. It really is. My program specifically, I don't look for a great portfolio, but I also don't have a super aesthetically driven practice. I'm looking for a well-rounded dentist or well-rounded student. So I think that's program specific. I think it's a great thing for you guys to keep a portfolio for yourself. When you're in private practice, if you want to say, these are the cases that I did in dental school, these are the cases that I did in residency. I think it's a great thing to, take patient photos and, do that type of stuff. But I think that's very program specific if you're going to bring that to your interview.
Great. And the final question we have is, what are some common mistakes that you see in the residency application?
Common is probably, probably just not standing out when it comes to your personal statement. I'd say like the personal statement that's very, some of them are very similar, just telling a story about how you had childhood trauma and it made you want to be a dentist. It's very, that's very universal across a lot of dental students, which is fine. That's how a lot of students get to dental school, is that they have a good relationship with their dentist for one reason or another. So probably that, I'd say, just kind of being very, mediocre in their personal statement. So the personal statement should be not very long. We're reading a lot of these, so make it concise and, say a few little things about you that stand out.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I actually have two additional questions. The first one is, as someone who is an international dentist and wants to stand out on an application, is there any way or any tips that you can give to those individuals that come from a different country?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's very similar. I mean, I think, just maybe your experiences in your country versus your experiences in this country and what brought you to where you are now. And I mean, coming from a different country in general as a dentist is definitely something that's a lot of hard work, and there's always a story behind it. So I think just, be very honest and forthcoming and, tell your story. And, your international dentist is this, completing the same amount of training, getting the same degree as a general dentist out there, from this country. So I don't think that there's anything very different in their application.
And the last question I actually have is, there's some participants that were asking about hospital setting programs, and if you recommend any specific websites that they can look for more information.
Special Care Dentistry is a great website, and they will have some program. They'll have a list of programs that will focus on special needs dentistry if you're interested in doing any special needs dentistry. But you can also just search on the ADEA website or the ADA website by region, by area, for GPRs, and just look at what GPRs are hospital based. Like I said, most programs out there will have a website. Sometimes they're kind of hard to find. Sometimes you have to kind of sift through the hospital, like ours in general, you have to kind of sift through this hospital page, and it's really hard to get to, the actual website about the program. So it's okay to reach out to programs and ask, hey, could you tell me a little bit about your program? And most attending or most program directors will get back to you with something, whether it's a program brochure or whether it's a, a blurb or whether it's a video. Some of them out there will have walking tours. A lot of programs have made walking tours of their program because of COVID. So a lot of resources out there. And sometimes I know it definitely is hard to sift through them. But you can always find a contact, like I said, on ADEA or the ADA website.
Thank you so much. This feedback was truly very valuable.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear. Any other questions from anyone?
Yeah, we actually have two in the chat. There was one that says, does it matter if a general dentist has not worked exceptionally well in a subject and they want to go for that specialty?
Well, this is hard for me because I can't really speak to specialty programs, but honestly, I would say still apply. Still apply to that specialty and, see what happens. Also, as far as specialty, if you don't get into the specialty that you want, always think of your next, what you're going to do besides that. And it's always a good idea to do a GPR and AEGD and reapply. It's difficult if you start working, get into private practice, start doing private practice, and then apply. I think that's a difficult way to approach it, is to become a general dentist and think that you're going to go back to a specialty later, because you start, you can always be a general dentist that has a little bit of a subspecialty in your specialty as well. But if you're interested in really getting a specialty degree and you don't get in the first time around, I would say reapply as many times as you need to until you get in, if that's really what you want to do. But it's not a bad idea to do a GPR, do an AEGD, and build your portfolio in that sense when it comes to doing another PGY1 or PGY2 and reapply in that sense. Because that's a good opportunity to do some procedures in that specialty and build from that, or even work with a specialist in that sense.
And then the last question we have is, how important is GPA for an AEGD or GPR application?
I think that also is very program specific. I really do. It depends on where you're applying. Some programs are like dental school in the fact that they have a little bit of an algorithm, like, okay, we had 50 completed applications and we're going to interview 30, and these are the ones that we're going to interview. So it depends. It's program specific. I don't like to look specifically at GPA. I think there's so much more to a dental student than their GPA. I like to look at the application as a whole. But I think that's definitely really program specific. There's some programs out there that are really only interview a handful, and for one reason or another, whether it's GPA or they did an externship there, or they, you know, have a connection to that program for one reason or another. But I think there's a lot of programs out there that don't focus on GPA as much as you guys think. I think they're looking for well-rounded, teachable applicants. So.
All right, I think that's it. I don't have any other questions in the chat, and we ran through all the questions on our list. So thank you so much for coming to speak to us. I think that we all got a lot out of this, as Viviana was saying. We got a lot of invaluable information. We appreciate your insight. So
Thanks
thank you so much.
Like I said, good luck to you guys. This is the end game. You know, you're here. This is really exciting. I'm proud of all you guys, even though I just met you, and it's going to be great. So good luck with everything.
Thank you.